tied into all the community work, you have the Reasonably Watts project that just came out as well. And
Yep.
on the song Gentrifier in particular, you talk about how the air and the water in Watts is bad.
Right.
So I've always, listening to your music now for several years, I've always been intrigued how you blend what you do in the community literally with your music. So how and why did you end up wanting to do it that way?
I think at this age, I'm 38 as of today, and I love music. I love hip hop. I love rap. I love whatever we want to call it in these times. I just love it. And one thing I love about music back in the day, I mean, we can go all the way back to, Melly Mel and like music, they really spoke about what was going on. Like for real. There was like not one fabricated, I'm not gonna say 100% of everybody was honest, but it wasn't a lot of fabricated lyrics that were coming out. Like LL, like all of these people, all of these artists, legendary artists, spoke about what was really happening. We go down from the Nas's and we just count forward. And so I always said, at some point in my career, I used to focus on trying to make the pop smash, right? And try to be this commercial artist because I can make songs really well. I'm a great songwriter. But I got to a point where I'm doing all of these great things in the community and I have great relationships with a ton of people and I'm impacting all these lives. And I had no identity when it comes to the music that I was making. They would just be cool songs, but it was no impact, right? There was no connection. And after 100 million talks with glasses, which he still beats me up about what my tracks, my sonic frequency selection, he still beats me up about it. But anyhow, I say, I need to start talking about more of what I'm really passionate about and what's natural to me. Every album I put out probably this year, I haven't wrote anything down. Like I just turn, I got the beat that someone will personally make through the direction of where I send them, and I just had it turn the mic on. I've recorded probably 70, 80% of the music in my bedroom, just literally loading it up and just hitting record and just going 2, 3 lines at a time, really thinking about what I want to say after that, what's going on. Because I really want to speak from the heart and speak about what's current and what's going on. And I also want to educate based on the information that I'm learning as we go and drop a little line or two in these bars.
Well, it's important because in theory, people forget that you're supposed to learn throughout your whole life. I think there's kind of a subliminal thing of once you're out of school, you stop learning. But when you're really trying to put yourself and what you're doing forward, you have to constantly be learning, studying, researching, reading, all these things, which clearly you do. So that's congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Um, and then also with Gentrifier, one of the other interesting things was how you rapped about like getting a white man to appraise your house. And I wanted you to explain like the reality of doing community work and trying to get with big corporations versus how those corporations haven't always helped people in the community. How do you navigate that? Because that's a tricky line sometimes.
Yeah, man. You know, if you understand, it's a deep rooted historical kind of process. Uh, if you live in America, it's set up a certain way, and there has to be. It's built on capitalism. I honestly think racism is kind of built off of capitalism and the capitalism of a particular group of people. It just so happened that that particular group of people happens to be African American in regards to my perspective of where I'm coming from, right? There's many different races and backgrounds that have been oppressed or whatever. So I get back to the original point. If you understand how it works and what the history of it has been, and you really tap in, you're able to navigate kind of how to filter through kind of who you can work with and who won't be willing to work with you. And there are corporations who do focus on D&I, right? Diversity and inclusion, who do hold core values of being equal, are trying to create an equal playing field and to go above and beyond to prove to certain communities via African American community, like, hey, this is inclusive. We want everything to be inclusive, not exclusive. We don't want to exclude anyone. So what I've been able to do is kind of identify who those groups or corporations or institutions or organizations are. And, you know, I just go, hey, we could do a lot together because, yeah, I'm fighting for Black dominance, but I'm also fighting for everybody to just win collectively. Like, there's enough. I'm not saying nobody shouldn't get it, right? I think we all could get it, and we could get more if we all work together, because history has shown too, when everybody works together, it just pops off even more. But so to answer the question and sum it up, you know, just piggybacking off of that song, there are systems in place where there are still people who have this old archaic geriatric dinosaur mentality of thinking that there is a supreme race and everyone else is beneath. But now you have a new generation of people who are in power who have eliminated that concept and saying, like, that's stupid. Let's just all be great together. So with these individuals who still adopt that old mantra in their brains that there should be a supreme race, they were the ones who created the systems, like in the song where it say, I needed, you know, I had a white man, you know, got my house of praise. I need a white man to get my house of praise, because there's truth who understands not just gentrification, but redlining, right? It comes from redlining, where there was something set up where African Americans were pushed out of a certain area that appraises to a high value. And usually if you're Black, it connects to a lower value of property or anything. So the goal is just to connect with corporations that have eliminated that mantra and work towards overshadowing that old model.
Okay. Well, I think that's also ties into Us or Them from Reasonably Watched, because you have the Furious Styles quote from Boyz n the Hood,
right,
where he's speaking to the kids. So when the film came out, did that little monologue he had, did that really hit you super hard, or was it later you understood and better appreciated?
I didn't even appreciate it till later, as I, you know, tapped into that frequency of, this is where my life is going, this is my purpose, right? And it's interesting because when I was doing the album, my boy Arsonist, who he grew up on the West Coast, but now he lives in Texas. He produced the whole project for me, you know, and we going back and forth on, I'm telling him which ones I want to redo. Like, these are the tempos, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yo, I need to add like some snippets of some kind of powerful quotes or whatever. And when I sent him the song, and maybe a day later, he flipped that one around real fast and I put that at the end. I didn't even ask for that, but I know that part, obviously. And I was like, yo, you blacked out on that one. That was perfect. And it was, I mean, it was just genius. And later, sometime, I guess, in the near future, when people take a listen, or maybe later down the line, or maybe in the near future, they'll hear the education that's being dropped. And this education has been here. Like, shout out to John Singleton, right? For trying to educate our people way back then in such an influential movie. A lot of people don't really talk about that part a lot, but it's so important in today's time.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when I think about the movies from that era with House Party, New Jack City, and Boyz n the Hood, those three in particular, people look at them in a certain way, but all three of them in different ways spoke very serious topics.
Man.
And they did it throughout the film. It wasn't like the inferior styles thing that you guys used on Us or Them was the only part of Boys in the Hood that had
Right,
this.
right.
No, it's all through the movie. Same with New Jack City. Same with even House Party, which is a comedy.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot about family and a lot about, safe sex and all these different things that are themes of the movie throughout the film. So when you look back at some of these films, do you ever get surprised like, oh man, they were really getting it in?
I
Because
do, man. I do. Like, I'll tap into oh, I think I was watching Colors the other day, and it was like some real like deal kind of showing you this gang, like police, and it was some stuff that I was talking about recently that I thought I was just in my bag. I'm like, damn, they said the same shit in Colors. Like, yo, these movies, and I love how they've been planting these eggs in these movies, man. I guess it just take time for these eggs to hatch. And I'm not gonna lie, man, it just started hitting me as of recent. Yo, like you said, New Jack, House Party, Boys in the Hood, Colors, even Menace to Society, like all of these movies had messages in them way back then. And I guess we just kind of overlook, maybe because we're young, we're not really tapped into that frequency yet, but we don't pay attention until we get older. Then we have somebody older than us be like, I tried to tell you back in the day, but you wasn't listening.
right. Well, that ties into something that I think could really help people from Reasonably Watts, which is the Buy the Dip song. And this song is really good since you're dealing with financial literacy,
Right.
explaining how investing works, but not in an overbearing way, in my opinion.
Yep.
So, how did you decide to explore such a potentially not fun topic to people, but do it in a song?
Well, number one, I had to pick the right beat for it. at least I'm gonna entertain you with
Can I
remember.
Live?
Yep.
Jay-Z's Can I Live? Shout out to that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it was also a play on like if Hove, if or when Hove listened to it, because I do know a lot of people from his squad, and I'm sure they probably was like, "Yo, this nigga Stix to the whole Reasonable Doubt album." And so when it happens, I know people are going to listen to it because they're gonna be like, "Let me see what he did on this one." Um, and it's interesting because I have he like a brother, Metro. He is a producer on the West Coast. Metro always be sending us cryptocurrency like text messages, like about Bitcoin, just all day, all day, all day, all day, like overbearing amount of information. And we'll hit him like whenever Bitcoin drop, right? We'll be like, "Hey man, Bitcoin ain't looking good." He'd be like, "Man, buy the dip, buy the dip." But also, I know that's how stocks work as well because I'm moderately fluent in investing in stocks and option trading, different things like that. And so I was like, man, this is another thing. I'm passionate about finance. Like I've taken a hedge fund management class before just for fun because I just love finance. I love how money works. I love how it moves. I understand it now. And I know how to grow it. I know like it's just for fun though, not because I want to pursue anything in it. But also, like I told you, I went broke. I wanted to figure out how do I stop this shit from happening. So with Buy the Dip, man, I was like, man, I need to figure out a way to just drop these gems on people who appreciate music and make it not sound too preachy, but just, plant the seed about blockchain. You know, what I say, I want a blockchain, now I got a blockchain, you know what I'm saying? Like play with certain lines that make people go, oh, that's kind of cool, and make them tap in. So just to start planting financial literacy eggs in their brain, and maybe they might want to pursue or ask a question, man, how do I trade stocks? What app should I download? Like, what crypto should I buy? What altcoin? That's what it was made for. So
There it is. So with Reasonably Watts, what would you say was your objective?
man, Reasonable Watch, number one, I love Reasonable Doubt so much. It's like one of my favorite albums of all time. I just kind of wanted to redo it on my own and turned it into like an East Side version of it, like more of a West Coast dude from Watts version of Reasonable Doubt, as if it was my own album and I got the same beats from the producers. That's number one, just have fun with it. And number two, I also thought about what would Jay appreciate lyrically if or when he listens to it, if he haven't already. Like, what would he want to hear on this today? And I'm pretty sure it will be something along the lines of like trying to drop these gems on everybody to talk about this Black wealth or just wealth in general, because that's what he on. He about building everybody around him into becoming greater, to becoming more financially stable, to where they can sustain on their own. And that's been my whole life, creating platforms for everybody else to stand on. So I wanted to make sure I tapped into those topics that I'm sure he would appreciate and that he would hear and be like, I fuck with that.
Well, there it is. Well, Stix, thanks for coming through the Unique Access, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence, thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.